My name is Daisy Miller. I am 30 years old and I live in the city. My father tapped his spoon against his crystal glass. The sharp sound cut through the noise of the holiday dinner. Everyone at the long table went quiet. My mother looked down at her plate. My brothers, Tyler and Connor, straightened their ties and tried to hide their smiles. They knew what was coming. "Daisy," my father said. His voice was loud. He wanted everyone to hear. "We need to settle the future of this family. I have made my decision. The estate, the house, and all the investments will go to the boys, all of it." He paused, waiting for my reaction. "You understand," he continued, waving his hand at me like I was a fly. "You have your little science experiments. You can fend for yourself. The boys need the family legacy. You don't." The room was deadly silent. My brothers watched me, waiting for the tears. They waited for me to beg, just like I did when I was a child. They wanted to see me break. But I didn't break. I didn't scream. I didn't even blink. I just reached out and picked up my wine glass. I took a slow, calm sip. My father thought he was cutting off a helpless daughter. He didn't know the truth. He didn't know that 3 hours ago, my phone buzzed in my pocket. My biotech patent had been approved. I wasn't just his disappointed daughter anymore. I was a billionaire. And I was about to watch his world crumble. But before I tell you how everything flipped, like and subscribe, drop a comment. Where are you watching from? My name is Daisy Miller. I am 30 years old. I drove a rental car. It was a simple, gray sedan. I could have bought a fleet of Ferraris, but I didn't want them to know. Not yet. I wanted to see them as they really were. The drive to my parents' estate took an hour from the airport. It was a drive I had done 100 times, and every time, my stomach hurt. It felt like a heavy stone was sitting in my gut. My hands gripped the steering wheel tight. My knuckles turned white. I turned off the main highway and onto the private road that led to the house. The trees were overgrown. Branches scraped the top of my car. It was the first sign. When I was a little girl, this road was perfect. The hedges were trimmed, the gravel was smooth. Now there were potholes. The grass was too high. It looked like a place that was trying to pretend it was still rich, but the money was running out. I pulled up to the main gate. It was iron, tall and imposing. It squeaked loudly when I pushed the button to open it. One of the hinges was rusted. I drove up the long driveway and parked in front of the house. The Victorian mansion loomed over me. It was huge. It had turrets and a wide porch. From far away, it looked impressive. But now that I was close, I saw the truth. The white paint was peeling in long strips like dead skin. The roof had missing shingles. The beautiful wraparound porch was sagging on the left side. It was a decaying giant. It was propped up by debt and lies. I turned off the engine. I took a deep breath. "You can do this, Daisy," I whispered to myself. "You are not the same little girl anymore." I stepped out of the car. The air smelled like damp wood and expensive cologne. My brothers were already there, Tyler and Connor. They were standing by their cars. Tyler had a black Porsche. Connor had a bright red sports car. I knew for a fact they were leased. They didn't own them. They just paid a monthly fee to look successful. Tyler saw me first. He smirked. He nudged Connor. "Look who it is," Tyler said. His voice was loud. "Daisy drove all the way here in a what is that? A tin can," Connor laughed. It was a cruel, short sound. "Did you rent the cheapest thing they had, sis? Or is the science business not paying well?" I didn't smile. I just closed my car door. "It gets me from A to B," I said. My voice was calm. They walked over to me. They were both wearing expensive suits, but the fits were wrong. Tyler's tie was too wide. Connor's shoes were scuffed. They looked like boys playing dress-up. "It's good to see you too," I said, lying. "Where's your luggage?" Connor asked. "Or could you not afford a bag?" "I'm only staying for dinner," I said. The front door opened. My mother stepped out. She stood at the top of the stairs, looking down at me. She was wearing a long silk dress. Her hair was perfectly sprayed into place. She looked like a queen, but her eyes were cold. She didn't smile. She didn't open her arms for a hug. She just scanned me. It was the same look she had given me my whole life. She looked at my shoes. They were comfortable flats, not heels. She looked at my dress. It was simple black cotton, not designer silk. She looked at my hair. It was tied back in a ponytail. She frowned. "Daisy," she said. It wasn't a greeting. It sounded like a complaint. "You look tired." "Hello, Mother," I said. I walked up the stairs. I stopped in front of her. I waited for a hug. I waited for her to say she missed me. It had been 2 years since I last visited. She just reached out and picked a piece of lint off my shoulder. "You could have put in a little effort," she said softly. "The boys look so sharp." You look like you just came from the grocery store. I came from work, I said. Work, she scoffed. She turned around and walked back into the house. Always that silly work, come inside. Don't let the neighbors see you standing there. I stood on the porch for a second. The old wound ripped open in my chest. It was instant. I was 30 years old, a CEO, a billionaire. But in 1 minute, they made me feel small again. They made me feel like the disappointment. Tyler walked past me and bumped my shoulder. Move it, science girl. I took a breath. I followed them into the lion's den. The inside of the house was cold. They kept the heat low to save money, though they would never admit it. We gathered in the living room before dinner. The furniture was the same as it was 20 years ago. Heavy velvet sofas, dark wood tables, a big chandelier that was missing a few crystals. My father was sitting in his leather armchair near the fire. He was holding a glass of whiskey. He didn't stand up when I walked in. He didn't even look at me at first. He just stared at the fire. "Hello, Dad," I said. He took a slow sip of his drink. Then he turned his head. His face was red and puffy. He looked older, but his eyes were just as hard. "You made it," he said. "Traffic was bad. I assume you're late." "I'm on time, Dad. It's 6 o'clock. "You're late," he repeated, shutting down the conversation. He turned back to my brothers. "Tyler, tell me about that deal you mentioned. The real estate project." I sat down on the edge of a stiff sofa. No one offered me a drink. No one asked how I was. I became invisible. It was an old magic trick my family knew. They could be in a room with me and act like I wasn't there. Tyler puffed out his chest. "It's huge, Dad. We're going to flip that warehouse downtown. Easy money. Triple the investment in 6 months." I knew the warehouse he was talking about. It was a toxic waste site. I knew because my company had looked at the land for a potential lab 2 years ago. It was unsalvageable. Tyler was going to lose everything. "That sounds risky," I said quietly. "The zoning laws there are strict." The room went silent. My father turned to me slowly. "Daisy," he said. His voice was a warning. "The men are talking business. Stick to your test tubes." "I just meant, enough," my mother snapped from the corner. She was fixing a flower arrangement that didn't need fixing. "Don't start an argument, Daisy. You always bring such negative energy." I closed my mouth. Negative energy. That's what they called it when I spoke the truth. I watched them. It was like watching a play I had seen 1,000 times. Tyler and Connor bragged about money they didn't have. They talked about trips to Dubai and watches that cost more than a house. My father nodded, proud of them. He saw himself in them. He saw power. He didn't see that they were incompetent. He didn't see that Tyler had failed 3 businesses in 5 years. He didn't see that Connor had a gambling problem. He only saw his sons. Then there was me. I looked at my hands. I remembered being 10 years old. I had won the state science fair. I came home with a blue ribbon and a trophy almost as big as me. I was so proud. I ran into this very room to show them. My father was watching a football game with the boys. I stood in front of the TV, holding my trophy. "Dad, look," I had said. He leaned to the side to see the screen. "You're blocking the game, Daisy, move." "But I won," I said. "That's nice," he said, not looking at me. "Go help your mother in the kitchen, that's where you're needed." I had gone to my room and cried for hours. I threw the trophy in the trash the next day. Now, sitting on the sofa 20 years later, the feeling was the same. I was an intruder in their world. "So," Connor said, looking at me with a smirk. "Still single, Daisy?" "Yes," I said. "Shocking," he laughed. "Maybe if you dressed up a bit. Put on some makeup. Men don't like women who are smarter than them, or women who think they are smarter." My mother sighed. "I've told her, Connor, she doesn't listen. She prefers her loneliness." "I'm not lonely," I said. "I'm busy building a company." "A company," my father laughed. It was a dry, rasping sound. "You have a lab, Daisy. You play with Petri dishes. Don't call it a company, it's a hobby." My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe. The air in the room felt thick. "Excuse me," I said. I stood up. "I need to use the restroom." I walked out of the room. I kept my back straight until I was in the hallway. Then I rushed to the guest bathroom under the stairs. I locked the door. I turned on the faucet. Cold water rushed out. I gripped the porcelain sink. My hands were shaking. "Stop it," I told myself. I looked in the mirror. My face was pale. My eyes looked scared. I saw the little girl again. The girl who just wanted her daddy to say, "Good job." The girl who wanted her mom to say, "You are beautiful." They were never going to say it. I splashed cold water on my face. It shocked me. It woke me up. I dried my face with a rough hand towel. I wasn't here for their approval, I was here to end this. I was here to cut the cord. I looked at my reflection. You are Dr. Daisy Miller, I whispered. You have 3 PhDs. You employ 4,000 people, you save lives, you are strong. I straightened my dress. I took a deep breath. I unlocked the door. When I stepped back into the hallway, I saw a shadow. It was Jacob, my nephew. He was Tyler's son. He was 16, quiet and awkward. He was sitting on the bottom step of the staircase, looking at his phone. He looked up at me. He looked sad. Hi, Aunt Daisy, he said. Hi, Jacob, I said softly. Are you okay? He shrugged. Grandpa is in a bad mood. Dad is yelling about money, same as always. I know, I said. I'm sorry. It's okay, he said. He looked at me with curious eyes. Is it true, what Grandpa said? That your job is just a hobby? I looked at this boy. He was the only innocent one in this house of wolves. No, Jacob, I said. It's not a hobby, it's the future. Cool, he said, and he meant it. Dinner, my mother yelled from the dining room. The summons. The execution was about to begin. The dining room was dimly lit. Candles flickered on the long mahogany table. The silver cutlery shone in the low light. It looked elegant, but if you looked closely, the napkins were frayed at the edges. My father sat at the head of the table. My mother sat at the other end. Tyler and Connor sat on one side, sprawling out. I was placed on the other side, next to Jacob. There was an empty chair between me and my mother. It was a symbolic gap. I was isolated. A hired server brought out the food. It was roast beef, heavy with gravy. Expensive wine was poured into the crystal glasses. My father took a long drink of wine. He cleared his throat. This is a vintage Cabernet, he announced. $500 a bottle, enjoy it. We only drink the best in this house. I took a sip. It tasted sour. It tasted like vinegar. I knew wine. I owned a vineyard in Napa as part of my portfolio. This bottle wasn't vintage. It was cheap wine poured into an expensive decanter. It was another lie, but I drank it. I didn't say a word. So, Tyler said, cutting his meat aggressively. Daisy, how are the rats? Excuse me, I asked. The rats, in your lab. That's what you do, right? Cut up rats. We work with human tissue printing, Tyler. We create heart valves for transplants. Boring, Connor yawned. Does it pay? I bet you're barely making rent on that apartment of yours. I do okay, I said calmly. She scrapes by, my father interrupted. He didn't look at me, he addressed the boys. We have to support her, you know. I paid for her college. I paid for her car years ago. She is a drain on resources. That was a lie. I paid my own way through MIT with scholarships and 3 part-time jobs. He hadn't given me a dime since I was 18. I paid for my own college, Dad, I said. My voice was steady. He slammed his hand on the table. The silverware rattled. Don't you dare contradict me in my house, he shouted. His face turned purple. You ungrateful girl. I gave you life, I gave you a roof over your head. I went silent. I picked up my fork. I cut a small piece of potato. My mother looked down at her plate. Eat your dinner, Daisy. Don't upset your father. She loves to upset me, my father muttered. She's always been jealous, jealous of her brothers, jealous of their success. Jacob shifted uncomfortably in his seat next to me. He looked down at his lap, checking his phone under the table. The dinner continued. The insults kept coming. They were like small cuts. She never had a head for business, Tyler said. She's too emotional, Connor agreed. Remember when she cried because we sold her pony? She was 12, grow up. She's plain, my mother added, sipping her wine. If she fixed her hair, maybe she could find a husband to take care of her. I chewed my food slowly. I tasted nothing. It was like eating ash. I looked at them, really looked at them. Tyler had sauce on his chin. Connor's eyes were bloodshot from drinking. My father's hand shook as he held his glass. My mother looked tired and hollow. They were small. They were mean because they were scared. They were bullies in a crumbling castle. Then my father cleared his throat again. This was it, the main event. He stood up. He held his glass high. I have an announcement, he said. A toast. Everyone stopped eating. To the future of this family, he said. I have been meeting with the lawyers. We need to secure the legacy. The estate, the investments, the remaining assets. I am placing them all into a trust. Tyler and Connor grinned. They clinked their glasses. And, my father continued, his eyes finally locking onto mine. They were cold, hard eyes. This trust will be managed exclusively by Tyler and Connor. They will inherit everything. He paused for effect. Daisy, he said, you are out. You get nothing, not a cent, not a brick of this house. The room was silent. You have your little science experiments, he sneered. Let's see if they can keep you warm at night. You are not a businessman, you are not a leader, you are weak. The boys, they are the future. My brothers laughed. It was a victory lap. Sorry, sis, Tyler said. Business is business. Don't worry, Connor said. We'll let you visit if you call ahead. My mother looked at me. It's for the best, Daisy. You wouldn't know what to do with money anyway. They waited, they watched me. They wanted me to cry, they wanted me to beg, they wanted the scene. I placed my fork down gently. I picked up my napkin and dabbed my mouth. I looked at my father. I looked at my brothers. I didn't feel sadness anymore. I didn't feel anger, I felt lightness. I picked up my wine glass, I took a slow sip. Okay, I said. My father blinked. Okay, that's all you have to say. Yes, I said. It's your money, do what you want with it. He looked disappointed. He wanted a fight. You don't care. I didn't say I don't care, I said. I said okay. I was waiting. I was waiting for the timing to be perfect. Next to me, Jacob gasped. The sound was sharp. Jacob inhaled so hard he choked on air. Jacob, I asked. He was staring at his phone under the table. His eyes were wide, like saucers. His mouth was hanging open. Boy, put that phone away, my father barked. We are having a family moment. Jacob didn't listen. He looked up at me. His face was pale. He looked terrified and amazed at the same time. Aunt Daisy, he whispered. What is it? Tyler snapped. Give me that. Tyler reached over and snatched the phone from his son's hands. No, Dad, look, Jacob said, pointing at the screen. Look at the list. What list? Tyler grumbled. He looked at the screen. I watched Tyler's face. It happened in slow motion. He squinted at the screen, then his eyebrows went up, then his jaw went slack. The color drained from his cheeks. He looked like he had been punched in the gut. He looked at the phone, then he looked at me. Then back at the phone, then back at me. This, Tyler stammered, this has to be a mistake. What is it? Connor asked. He leaned over Tyler's shoulder. Connor froze. He stopped chewing. He dropped his fork. It clattered loudly onto his plate. Holy, Connor whispered. What is going on? My father demanded. Tyler, show me. Tyler didn't move. He was paralyzed. He was staring at me with a look I had never seen before. It was fear. I took another sip of wine. Is it the new Forbes list, Jacob? I asked calmly. Jacob nodded. The real-time billionaires list, it just updated. Billionaires? My mother asked. What are you talking about? Tyler slowly turned the phone around so everyone could see. It was a picture of me, a professional headshot I had taken for a magazine interview last week. I looked strong, confident, and powerful. Next to my name, Daisy Miller, was a number 42. And below that, in bright green text, $5.8 billion. The room went dead silent. The only sound was the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall. My father stared at the phone. He squinted. He couldn't process it. 5, he mumbled. 5 billion, he looked at me. Is this a joke? Is this some internet prank? No, Dad, I said. I set my glass down. My voice was steady. It's not a prank. My company, Miller Biotech, received FDA approval for our bioprinted cardiac tissue this afternoon. The stock price tripled in after-hours trading. I own 51% of the company. I looked him in the eye. I am the majority shareholder, and as of 4 p.m. today, I am worth $5.8 billion. My mother put her hand over her mouth. Daisy, she whispered. My father sat back in his chair. He slumped. The arrogance was gone. The power was gone. He looked like a deflated balloon. You, he stammered, you have billions. Yes, I said. Tyler threw the phone on the table. But you're a lab tech. You play with rats. I am the CEO and founder, Tyler, I said. We supply heart tissue to every major hospital in North America. We just signed a contract with the military. It's not a hobby. Connor looked at the phone, then at me. I could see the wheels turning in his head. He was calculating. He was realizing that the rich family estate was nothing compared to me. The house, the cars, the trust fund, it was pennies. I was the bank. Daisy, Connor said. His voice changed. It became soft, sweeter. Wow, I had no idea. Why didn't you tell us? Would you have listened? I asked. Of course, Tyler said. He forced a smile. It looked painful. We're family. This is amazing. We're rich. We, I asked. I stood up. I smoothed my dress. There is no we, Tyler. You just spent the last hour telling me I get nothing. Remember, that was just talk, my father said quickly. He tried to stand up, but his legs were shaky. Daisy, sweetheart, I was just testing you to see if you had grit. And you do. You have the killer instinct. I knew it. You didn't know anything, I said. I reached into my purse, which was sitting on the floor. I pulled out a thin blue folder. I have a reveal too, I said. I slid the folder across the table. It stopped right in front of my father. What is this? He asked. It's a due diligence report, I said. Since you like business so much, I decided to run a background check on the family legacy. My father's face went gray. Open it, I said. He didn't move. Open it, I said, my voice rising for the first time. It cracked like a whip. He opened the folder. I know everything, I said. I know the estate is leveraged at 120%. I know you took out 3 mortgages on this house. I know the foreclosure notice came last week. I know Tyler's real estate business is being sued for fraud. I know Connor owes $200,000 to a loan shark in Vegas. My brothers shrank in their seats. My mother started to cry. There is no inheritance, I said. There is no money, there is only debt. You cut me out of the will because there is nothing to give. You were trying to hide your failure. My father looked at the papers. His hands were shaking so hard the papers rattled. Daisy, he whispered, please. Please what? I asked. Help us, he said. He looked small. We are your family. I looked at them, the people who had mocked me, the people who had made me feel worthless for 30 years. Now they were beggars. I'm not bailing you out, I said. What? Tyler shouted. You have $5 billion. You could buy this house 1,000 times over. I could, I said. But I won't. I looked at my father. You said it yourself, Dad. I'm a bad investment. I'm just a girl with science experiments. Why would you want my money? Daisy, don't be like this, my mother sobbed. We will lose the house. We will be on the street. You should have thought about that before you treated me like garbage, I said. I turned to Jacob. He was the only one not asking for money. He was just looking at me with awe. Jacob, I said. Yeah, he squeaked. Do you want to go to college? Yes, he said. I want to study engineering, but Dad says we can't afford it. I pulled a pen from my purse. I wrote something on the back of a napkin. I am setting up an education trust for you, I said. Fully funded, any university you want. Tuition, room, board, all paid for. Tyler reached out. That's great. You can send the check to me and I'll manage. No, I cut him off. The trust will be in Jacob's name. You cannot touch a cent of it. If you try, my lawyers will destroy you. I handed the napkin to Jacob. This is my personal number. Call me tomorrow. Jacob took the napkin. He smiled. It was a real smile. Thank you, Aunt Daisy. I looked back at the rest of them. They looked like statues in a graveyard. I'm leaving now, I said. Enjoy the wine. It's the only expensive thing you have left. I turned around and walked out of the dining room. I walked down the hall. I walked out the front door. I heard my father shouting my name, but it sounded far away. Like a ghost. I got into my rental car. I started the engine. I drove down the driveway, past the peeling paint, past the overgrown trees, past the rusted gate. I looked in the rearview mirror one last time. My father was standing in the window, watching me leave. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel lonely. I felt free. I drove onto the main road and didn't look back. The best revenge wasn't screaming. It wasn't fighting. It was winning. And I had won. The silence in the dining room was heavy. It felt like the air had been sucked out. My father was still staring at the phone screen at the number next to my name. 5.8 billion. He looked up at me. His eyes were wide and wet. He looked like a man who had just seen a ghost. This is real, he whispered. His voice was shaking. Daisy, tell me this is real. It is real, I said. I kept my voice flat. I didn't smile. But that is not the only thing we need to discuss tonight. I reached down to my bag again. I pulled out the blue folder I had brought with me. It was thick. It was heavy with paper. I placed it on the table. The sound of the folder hitting the wood was loud in the quiet room. Thud. What is that? Tyler asked. He was still pale. He couldn't take his eyes off me. He looked at me like I was a stranger. Or maybe he looked at me like I was a meal ticket. This, I said, putting my hand on the folder, is the truth. We don't need truth, my mother said nervously. She tried to laugh, but it sounded like a choke. We are having a nice dinner. We are celebrating. Daisy is successful. We should open another bottle of wine. No, Mother, I said. We are not celebrating yet. Dad, you wanted to talk about business. You wanted to talk about the family legacy. You said the boys would inherit everything. I slid the folder across the table. It stopped right in front of my father's plate. Open it, I said. My father's hand shook as he reached for the cover. He opened it slowly. The first page was a summary of the estate's finances. I knew exactly what was on it because I had paid a forensic accountant $50,000 to find it. Read the first line, Dad, I said. He stared at the paper. He didn't speak. Read it, I said a little louder. Mortgage status, he mumbled. Default. Tyler stood up. What? That's impossible. This house is paid off. Grandpa paid it off 30 years ago. Sit down, Tyler, I said. The house was paid off. But Dad took out a loan against it 10 years ago, then a second loan 5 years ago, and a third loan last year. I looked at my father. He was shrinking in his chair. Is that true, Dad? Connor asked. You told me the estate was worth $20 million, clear and free. My father didn't answer. He just kept staring at the paper. He lied to you, I said to my brothers. There is no $20 million. There is no legacy. The bank sent the foreclosure notice last Tuesday. You have 30 days to vacate the property. 30 days, my mother screamed. She stood up, knocking her chair over. 30 days to leave my home. Where will we go? I don't know, I said. Maybe you can stay in a hotel if you have any credit left. I pointed to the folder again. Turn the page, I said. My father turned the page. That is the report on Tyler's real estate company, I said. Tyler froze. Hey, that's private business. It's public record when you get sued for fraud, I said. You took deposits from investors for a condo building you never built. You spent the money on cars and trips. The lawsuit is going to court next month. You are looking at 5 years in prison, Tyler. Tyler dropped back into his seat. He looked like he was going to be sick. And Connor, I said. Turn the page again. My father turned the page. It was a list of gambling debts. You owe $200,000 to a loan shark in Las Vegas, I said. And you owe another $50,000 to credit card companies. You have been borrowing money from Dad to pay the interest, haven't you? Connor looked down at his lap. He started to cry, a grown man, crying because he got caught. You are all broke, I said. The cars are leased. The clothes are on credit. The wine we are drinking is cheap swill poured into a fancy bottle. It is all a lie. I looked at my father. He finally looked up at me. His face was gray. He looked old and defeated. Why? He whispered. Why did you do this, Daisy? Why did you dig this up? Because you tried to hurt me, I said. You invited me here tonight to humiliate me. You wanted to cut me out of the will to make me feel small. You wanted to show off your power. I leaned forward. But you have no power, I said. You cut me out of the will not because I wasn't worthy. You cut me out because there is nothing to give. You wanted to protect your ego. You didn't want me to know that you failed. I did it for the family, he said weakly. I tried to keep it together. You did it for yourself, I said. You sacrificed me to keep up appearances. You let Tyler and Connor think they were rich, so they became lazy and entitled. You let me think I was poor, so I worked hard. You created this. My mother walked over to my father. She put her hand on his shoulder. She was crying hard now. Her makeup was running down her face. Daisy, please, she sobbed. We are your parents. We made mistakes, but we love you. Do you? I asked. Do you love me? Or do you love that I have $5 billion? She didn't answer. She couldn't. I looked around the table. The candles were still flickering. The food was getting cold. The illusion was shattered. I came here tonight thinking I would be sad, I said. I thought I would leave here feeling like a victim, but I don't. I feel sorry for you. Daisy, my father said. He reached his hand out across the table. We can fix this. We can be a family again. I looked at his hand. It was shaking. The truth hurts, doesn't it? I asked. He nodded. Yes, it hurts. Good, I said. Now you know how I have felt for 30 years. The panic started slowly, then it hit all at once. It was like watching a dam break. For years, my family had operated on arrogance. They were the kings of the world. They were untouchable. But now the wall was gone. The water was rushing in. And they were drowning. Tyler was the first to panic. He wiped the sweat from his forehead. He looked at me with wild eyes. Daisy, he said. His voice was high and desperate. Daisy, listen. We need to talk business, okay? Forget the past. We are business people now. I am a business person, Tyler, I said calm. You are a fraud. No, listen, he said. He stood up and walked around the table toward me. I can help you. You have all this capital now. $5 billion. You need someone to manage it. You need a family office. I can run it for you. I can protect your assets. I laughed. It was a short, dry laugh. You want to manage my money? I asked. Tyler, you can't even manage a lemonade stand. You are being sued for fraud. Why would I give you a penny? Because I'm your brother, he shouted. Blood is thicker than water, Daisy. You can't trust strangers. You need family. I trust my lawyers, I said. And I trust my accountants. They don't steal from me. Tyler slammed his hand on the back of my chair. Don't be a bitch, Daisy. We are talking about survival here. Sit down, I said. I didn't flinch. Don't touch my chair. He glared at me, but he backed away. He was afraid of me now. Money was power, and I had all of it. Then it was Connor's turn. He didn't yell. He begged. He slid out of his chair and fell to his knees. It was pathetic. Daisy, please, he cried. These guys, the guys I owe money to, they are dangerous. If I don't pay them by Friday, they are going to hurt me. They said they would break my legs. My mother gasped. Oh my God. Connor, you have to help him, Daisy, my mother screamed at me. He is your little brother, you can't let him get hurt. I looked at Connor, he was sniffling like a child. How much is it? I asked. 200,000, he sobbed. That's nothing to you, it's like 5 cents to you. Please, Daisy, just write a check, I'll never ask for anything again. I looked at him. I remembered when I was 16. I had saved up $500 from babysitting to buy a used laptop for school. Connor stole the money from my drawer and bought video games. When I told my parents, they laughed. They said I should have hidden it better. They said boys will be boys. I remember when you stole my babysitting money, I said softly. Connor looked up confused. What? That was years ago, who cares? I care, I said. It taught me a lesson. It taught me that you take what isn't yours. I'll pay you back, he promised. No, you won't, I said. You never pay anyone back, that's why you are in this mess. So you're going to let them break my legs? He asked, his voice shaking. I am not letting them do anything, I said. You made a deal with bad people. That is your consequence. I am not a bank, Connor, I am your sister. And you treated your sister like dirt. My mother threw her napkin on the table. You are a monster, she yelled. How can you be so cold? We raised you, we fed you, we clothed you. You did the bare minimum required by law, I said. You fed me because you had to. You clothed me because you didn't want the neighbors to talk. But you never loved me, you tolerated me. That's not true, she cried. It is true, I said. Look at this room, Mother. Look at the pictures on the wall. I pointed to the wall behind my father. There were dozens of framed photos. Tyler playing football. Connor graduating high school. Tyler and Connor on a boat. My father shaking hands with the mayor. Find one picture of me, I said. She looked at the wall, her eyes darted around. She searched. There were none, not a single photo of Daisy. She stammered. We have albums. I am not on the wall, I said. I was never part of this family, I was just a guest who stayed too long. My father finally spoke up again. He had been reading the folder, looking for a loophole, looking for a way out. Daisy, he said. His voice was calm now. Calculated? Let's be reasonable, the house. It's in foreclosure. If we lose it, it looks bad for you too. The media will find out. Billionaire daughter lets parents live on street. It's bad PR for your company. He was trying to blackmail me. Even now, at the end, he was trying to manipulate me. I have a PR team, I said. They are very good, and honestly, Dad, I don't think the public will blame me. Not when I show them the truth about the fraud and the gambling. You wouldn't, he said. I would, I said, if you push me. He slumped back. He realized he had no cards left to play. So that's it, he asked. You're just going to watch us burn. I'm not watching you burn, I said. I'm watching you pay for what you bought. You bought this life of lies, now the bill is due. We need money, Daisy, Tyler interrupted again. Just a loan. $1 million, that's all. We can fix the house, pay the debts, start over. $1 million, I repeated. Do you know how hard I worked for my first million? I worked 18 hours a day. I slept in my lab. I ate instant noodles for 3 years. I didn't have a safety net. If I failed, I starved. I looked at them. You have never worked a hard day in your lives. You think money is magic. You think it just appears. If I give you $1 million, it will be gone in a month. You are a bad investment. We are family, my mother wailed. Being family is not a job qualification, I said. And it is not a reason to give you money. I took a deep breath. I felt calm. It was amazing. All my life their yelling had scared me. Their disapproval had crushed me. Now their yelling sounded like noise, just desperate noise. I was the oak tree, they were just wind. I am not giving you any money, I said clearly. Not for the house, not for the debts, not for the lawsuits, you are on your own. The silence returned. But this time it was different. It was the silence of a tomb. They knew I meant it. I turned away from my father and my brothers. I turned to the person sitting on my right. Jacob. My nephew had been silent this whole time. He was sitting with his hands in his lap. He looked terrified. He was watching his father, Tyler, scream and beg. He was watching his grandfather shrink. He was seeing his heroes fall apart. He looked at me. His eyes were wide and innocent. He wasn't like them. He had his mother's eyes, A woman Tyler had divorced 5 years ago because she wasn't rich enough. Jacob was stuck in this house every weekend, listening to their poison. "Jacob," I said softly. He jumped a little. "Yes, Aunt Daisy." "I'm sorry you had to see this," I said. "It's okay," he whispered. I kind of knew." "You knew?" I asked. He nodded. "I hear them talking. Late at night. Dad cries in his room. Grandpa yells about banks. I knew we didn't have money, I just didn't know it was this bad." "It is bad," I said, "but it is not your fault." I reached into my purse again. I didn't pull out a folder this time. I pulled out a notebook and a pen. "You said you want to be an engineer?" I asked. "Yes," he said. His face lit up just a tiny bit. "I want to build bridges or maybe rockets. I like physics." "Physics is good," I said. "I like physics too." Tyler interrupted. "Don't talk to him. He's my son. If you won't help me, you don't get to talk to him." "Quiet, Tyler," I said. I didn't even look at him. My focus was entirely on the boy. "Jacob," I continued. "Your father and your grandfather made bad choices. They spent money they didn't have. They focused on looking rich instead of being useful. Do you understand the difference?" "I think so," he said. "Being rich is just a number in a bank," I said. "Being useful, building bridges, curing diseases, making things, that is real value, that is what matters." "I want to do that," he said. "But Dad says college is too expensive. He said I have to work for him at the real estate company after high school." "You are not going to work for him," I said. I wrote a phone number on the paper. I tore the page out and handed it to him. "This is my personal number," I said. "Not my assistant, me." He took the paper. He held it like it was gold. "Tomorrow morning," I said, "I am setting up a trust fund in your name. It will have enough money to cover your undergraduate degree, your master's, and your PhD if you want it. It will cover your housing, your books, your food, and your travel." Jacob's mouth dropped open. "Really?" "Yes," I said. "But there are conditions." "What conditions?" he asked. "1. You have to maintain a 3.5 GPA, I said. 2. You cannot touch the principal amount until you are 25. 3. Your father cannot access the money. Ever?" I turned to Tyler. "Did you hear that, Tyler?" I asked. "The trust will be blind. The executor will be my lawyer. You cannot withdraw a penny. You cannot borrow against it. If you try to coerce Jacob into giving you money, the trust freezes instantly." Tyler looked furious, but he also looked greedy. "He's a minor. I control his finances." "Not this money," I said. "This money belongs to the trust. And the trust belongs to me until he turns 18. You have no legal claim." I looked back at Jacob. "This is your ticket out," I said. "You don't have to sink with this ship. You can go to school. You can build your bridges. You can be your own man." Tears filled Jacob's eyes. Real tears, not the fake, manipulative tears my mother cried. These were tears of relief. "Thank you, Aunt Daisy," he whispered. "Thank you so much." "You're welcome," I said. I reached out and squeezed his hand. "Don't be like them, Jacob, be better." "I will," he promised. My mother sniffled. "What about us? You save the boy, but you leave your own mother to starve." "You are an adult mother," I said. "Jacob is a child. He deserves a chance. You had your chance, and you spent it on silk dresses and country club memberships." I stood up. My chair scraped against the floor. "The conversation is over," I said. Standing up felt like dropping a heavy weight. My legs felt strong. I looked at the dinner table one last time. The roast beef was cold. The gravy had formed a skin on top. The expensive-looking wine bottle sat in the middle like a joke. "Where are you going?" my father asked. He didn't stand up. He couldn't. He looked like he had aged 20 years in 20 minutes. "I'm going home," I said. "To my real home, my apartment in the city. It's small, but it's mine, and I paid for it." "You can't just leave," Tyler said. We haven't figured this out yet." "I have figured it out," I said. "You haven't. And that is not my problem anymore." I picked up my purse. I smoothed my dress. I walked toward the archway that led to the hall. "Daisy," my mother called out. "If you walk out that door, don't you dare come back. If you leave us now, you are no daughter of mine." I stopped. I turned around slowly. The threat used to terrify me. When I was 10, when I was 20, the idea of being disowned was my worst nightmare. I wanted to belong so badly. Now the threat sounded ridiculous. "Mother," I said, "you didn't raise a daughter. You raised a scapegoat. You needed someone to blame for your unhappiness. You needed someone to treat poorly so you could feel better about yourselves." I looked at her directly in the eyes. "I am not your daughter," I said. "I am the stranger you made fun of. I am the scientist you mocked. I am the woman who succeeded in spite of you, not because of you." We gave you life, she screamed. And I am taking it back, I said. I turned and walked into the hallway. The house felt different now. When I arrived, it felt like a dungeon. It felt heavy and scary. Now it just felt old and dirty. I saw the dust on the baseboards. I saw the water stain on the ceiling that they had painted over. I saw the cracks in the plaster. It wasn't a castle. It was just a rotting house filled with sad, angry people. I walked to the front door. My hand touched the brass doorknob. It was cold. I heard footsteps behind me. It was my father. He had followed me into the hall. He was leaning against the wall for support. Daisy, he wheezed. I didn't turn around. Goodbye, Dad. I was tough on you, he said. His voice was raspy. I was tough on you because I wanted you to be strong. I knew you had it in you. I was pushing you. I paused. I turned my head slightly. Don't rewrite history, Dad, I said. You weren't pushing me. You were ignoring me. You poured all your love into Tyler and Connor because they were boys. You thought they were the kings. You thought I was nothing. He started, but he stopped. He couldn't lie anymore. The truth was too bright. You bet on the wrong horses, I said, and now you have lost the race. I am proud of you, he whispered. It sounded desperate. He was trying one last key to unlock my wallet. No, you're not, I said. You're proud of the money. If I was still a broke scientist, you wouldn't be standing here. You would be laughing at me at the table. He went silent. He knew I was right. Goodbye, I said again. I opened the heavy oak door. The night air rushed in. It was cold and crisp. It smelled like rain and pine needles. It smelled like freedom. I stepped out onto the porch. The door clicked shut behind me. I didn't look back at the door. I walked down the sagging steps. I walked past the peeling paint. I walked to my rental car, the gray sedan, the tin can my brothers had mocked. Now it looked like a chariot. It was the vehicle that would take me away from here. I got in. I threw my purse on the passenger seat. I put the key in the ignition. My hands were steady. My heart was beating slow and strong. I started the engine. The headlights cut through the darkness. I saw the front of the house in the light. It looked sad. It looked like a movie set after the actors had gone home. I put the car in reverse. I drove down the long, winding driveway. The gravel crunched under my tires. I reached the bottom of the hill. I pressed the button for the gate. The iron gates groaned and squeaked as they opened slowly. I drove through them. I was out. I turned onto the main road. I accelerated. The car picked up speed. 40 miles per hour. 50, 60. I rolled down the window. The wind whipped my hair around my face. I took a deep breath. My lungs filled with air that felt cleaner than the air in that house. I thought about what I had just done. I had cut the cord. I had severed the limb to save the body. For years, I had carried the weight of their judgment. I heard their voices in my head every day. You're not good enough. You're ugly. You're boring. You're a failure. Tonight, I had silenced those voices. Not with shouting, but with facts, with success. I glanced at my phone sitting in the cup holder. It buzzed. It was a text message from Jacob. Thank you, Aunt Daisy. I won't let you down. I smiled, a real smile. I typed back, I know you won't. Study hard. Then another text came in, from Tyler. Daisy, please pick up the phone. We can work this out. 5% management fee. That's a deal. Call me. I didn't reply. I pressed the block caller button. Then a text from my mother. You are selfish. God will punish you for this. Block. Then a text from Connor. Help me. Block. I put the phone down. I was alone in the car, but I didn't feel lonely. I felt powerful. I thought about the future. Tomorrow, I would go back to my lab. I would meet with my team. We had work to do. We were printing heart valves that would save babies. We were changing medicine. I had a life that was full and rich. Not just with money, but with purpose. My family had a big house, but it was empty. They had expensive clothes, but no souls. They had the appearance of success, but the reality of failure. I realized something as I drove onto the highway, the city lights twinkling in the distance. Money didn't change me. It didn't make me smarter. It didn't make me better. I was the same Daisy I was yesterday, but money was a mirror. It showed everyone who they really were. It showed my father was a coward. It showed my brothers were leeches. It showed my mother was hollow. And it showed me that I didn't need them. I looked in the rearview mirror one last time, even though the house was miles behind me now. You made it, I whispered to the reflection of my eyes. You survived. I turned on the radio. A classic rock song was playing. It was loud and energetic. I tapped my fingers on the steering wheel. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the victor. I drove toward the city, toward the lights, toward my future. I left the rotting mansion and the rotting family in the darkness behind me. The best revenge wasn't burning their house down. It was building my own house, so high and so strong that they couldn't even see the top of it. I was Daisy Miller. I was a billionaire, and I was finally free.